How's it going, everybody? Hello. Welcome to the weirdest living room I've ever been in. We're all got our headphones on and we're going to tune in and spend the next 45 minutes really looking at not just the future of Power Platform, but really the future of how we're going to upgrade the operating system of every organization on the planet. I know that's a bold claim, but I want to get into it here. We're going to spend most of this session very hands-on, completely live demos. We've got 4 of them lined up here for you. They're going to be all over running code, some of it completely brand new. But I want to spend a few minutes ahead of that just putting this whole thing into context. Where do we see Power Platform now and in the immediate future? What role does it have in a world of agents and broader transformation? And what's inspiring us as we build all of this stuff? And we'll start sort of where I think a lot of us start in our initial AI journey, that magic wand moment. How many people have had a magic wand moment with AI over the last couple of years, right? A lot of us have, right? Something that made us really just go say, wow, that's amazing, right? Now, the problem is how many people have a boss or a board member that had a magic wand moment or read about one on LinkedIn and now expects you to do 10 times as many things, 10 times as fast at a 10th of the cost. Yeah, my own team is raising their hands there, right? All of a sudden, that magic wand doesn't look so magical anymore, right? And that's where this gap is really tough. Right? It is really easy to get impressive demos and things out into the world. It's really hard to turn that into whole-scale fundamental transformation. Right? And part of that has to do with the rapid maturity that's happening in the technology itself. But a lot of it has to do not with anything in the new world of models and code generation and platforms. It has to do with our existing operating systems, the way our companies run today, right? Which is not beautifully and perfectly organized, to say the least, right? Gartner says the average corporate department, just department, runs at least 8 SaaS applications, right? They got a core system, you operate all these other things around it, and then on top of that, you have all of these smaller and one-off tools that people have built or created over time, and a whole lot of human effort to stitch all this stuff together. We live in very complex, heterogeneous computing and operating environments, right? And we've built all of this up not in some beautiful master plan, but over years or decades of individual decisions. And that is what makes transformation hard, right? In some ways, the way our companies operate, and I'm not talking about Windows or Linux, I'm talking about this system of humans and software and processes, that's what's holding us back. Right? And that's really the backdrop against we are entering this new era of working faster, working smarter, working more efficiently. Right? And that's why implementing true process transformation with AI is not easy. Right? And that's also the role that Power Platform can play. Right? Now, a lot of us approach a problem like this with very practical, tactical things. Right? I talk to a lot of customers, and I hear stuff like this a lot. We brought in an expert. We're having a hackathon. We're crowdsourcing a whole bunch of ideas from people about what they think AI can do for them. How many people have been to that meeting or participated in that brainstorm, right? And these are righteous things to do, right? But we go to that big brainstorm, we come up with a whole lot of ideas, and we realize, man, 9 out of 10 could have just been a Power Automate workflow in 2019. And the other 10 are, kind of crazy moonshots. And now we're trying to post-rationalize an economic value for all these things on a whiteboard, right? Those are valuable things to do. They are not going to fundamentally transform the operating system, right? If we're going to get really serious about changing the way our companies work, we got to go flip this whole thing around, right? We have to not sort of like come up with a shiny object and post-rationalize it. We have to start up front with bold goals and ideas. Right? So what does that mean for the software our companies run on, the processes we run? Right? What does it mean to start with that goal? What if I could just cut out a quarter, half of that complicated SaaS landscape? Right? All those one-off pieces. What if I could make them go away in a year? Right? What if I could take a modernization project that I thought would take a year or 3 and run it in 6 weeks or a few months instead? What if I could go line up all the most critical processes in my company and make them all 10 times better? Right? What would that look like? And what would it take? What combination of humans and tools what I need around the table to get that to be true? Right? And that is really the mindset shift that's driving this frontier firm we've been talking about all morning today at Ignite, right? Is this mindset of going from incremental, individual, small things to really front load a big idea, right? Take a big constraint or a big ambition and anchor that up front. And then let's go figure out who needs to be around the table, what tools do they need at their disposal, and how do we start iterating really quickly to achieve that goal, right? And that's the way that AI transformations are happening, not with a long tail hackathon and not with one big top-down project, but by getting really anchored on where are we headed, what is the vehicle we're using to get there that changes the constraints that we previously operated under, and then how do we make it better every single week, every single day? Continue to iterate and iterate and iterate. And that is why we need powerful platforms, right? Because the cost of iteration and the breadth at which we can move is fundamentally a function of the tools themselves and who's using them, right? And this is why we need to democratize access to AI. If you were listening to the keynote this morning, Judson talked about the maker in all of us, right? And moving to a place where everybody close to the process has the ability to improve the process, right? And that is just a fundamental shift that AI is making possible today. It used to be, and even in a low-code era, that we would sort the world primarily by technical expertise, right? Low-code enabled a whole bunch of people that we used to call citizen developers. Anybody been called that or known about that or talked about some citizen developers, right? And we had a fundamental limit on what we would feel comfortable with a citizen developer doing, right, in a low-code tool. And all this language itself was kind of built around what people were not or did not have, right? And then in the hands of professionals, those tools could be even more powerful. They could go further. But we thought about that as a fundamentally limited resource, right? And so a lot of low-code programs that have been very successful up until this point have kind of operated along this spectrum. How do I protect myself from that long tail and govern? And then how do I enable this smaller set of elite folks to go faster? And that has been incredibly successful. 56 million people used Power Platform inside of their organizations in the last 28 days. They're uplifting all of these boats. But it's certainly not the end of the journey, right? And as you look at, can I bring down the cost and complexity of that implementation curve, I start to actually change the balance of expertise. If I'm really going to get serious about making every process in every department work faster, work better, be 10x greater, I have to start harnessing the expertise of the people who actually know those processes. I have to start bringing them to the table and empowering them in fundamentally different ways. And I still need my technologists for sure, right? I still need things to scale and be secure and be fast, right? But I need to work together in just a very different way, right? So this is the core premise we're operating under, that if we're really going to upgrade every process in a company, we have to empower every process expert in the company. That's everybody with a real job day to day. And we have to make every developer faster and more capable of interacting with and helping them. And to reduce that sentence, that phrase is why we need a powerful platform, right? And there are some core building blocks of that platform in the Microsoft ecosystem. The first and foremost is Copilot, right? Get every single modern worker an intelligent assistant that can be increasingly active on their behalf, right? That has agents at its disposal. And then let's go look at all the places where these processes happen today in applications, right? And let's modernize every single one and bring AI to them. And as we do it, let's not just lift and shift and repaint the last decade's software to make it look nicer. Let's bring agents along as we go and shift this balance of where the labor happens, right? And what we expect people to do and what we expect agents to do in our company. And truly upgrading the operating system takes all of those things, and it takes them together, right? And to kind of zoom into that as more of a stack, right? The goal is to run every single process in a more efficient and connected way with this mix of humans and agents. To do it, we have to get tools into the hands of every information worker, really accessible things inside of Copilot, And we need more advanced capabilities to actually go rebuild every department's operating system. And if we're going to do all of that, if we're going to give incredible power to a much wider set of people, we have to build it on a foundation we trust, that we can measure, that we can manage, that we can secure, that we can operate at huge scale. Right? It takes all of these pieces together to really upgrade the operating system of a company. So that's the backdrop, right? And what we're going to do for the rest of the session is look at each of these 4 boxes and look at really tangible capabilities in Power Platform that not only make it possible today, but are dramatically accelerating what people can do. And we're going to start right in the middle here. We're going to start at tools that empower every modern worker. Now, if you were in the keynote this morning, you saw App Builder in about 90 seconds as a new agent inside a Copilot, alongside a workflow agent, alongside the ability to build Copilot agents directly there. But App Builder is something we are incredibly excited about. And to show it to you in just a little bit more depth, Emma's going to pop up here, and we're going to go build some apps with Copilot live. Emma, over to you as soon as you're ready.
Sure, sounds good. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Here we are. So we're right here in App Builder. And App Builder is an agent directly in M365 Copilot where you can build what you need with no code required. So imagine I'm a manager, maybe at 𝗦𝗲𝗀, and I don't quite have enough time to go and build out a better onboarding process for my team. It's that relatable. And so I'll put in my prompt here, very general, around creating a personal onboarding experience for new team members where we can manage tasks, track progress, and so on. Now, since I'm in M365 Copilot, I don't just have to use text here to describe what I need. I can also go and add any workplace content or work IQ content to also provide. Now, I could include presentations, I could include emails or meeting transcripts or Excel files, but in our case, I'll just use the onboarding checklist that we've used in past. And so I'll kick that off and get it going. Now, this App Builder agent is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. It's going to build out a spec for what the app should do. It's going to go figure out what the theme and layout should be for all of those pages. And of course, it's going to go code all of that. This takes a couple of minutes, though, and so I'm just going to do a little cooking show magic to pull up one I did just before coming on stage. So here we go. It's the same prompt. Let's open it up and see the onboarding app for my team. So that's pretty nice. I've got a nice welcome to the team. It pulled out things about myself and my role. It's made some personal team greetings where it could be greetings from my team, in addition to some other tasks that have been preloaded here for me. Now there's also a more detailed page about where I can see more in-depth tasks, as well as it pulled in team resources from my Microsoft ecosystem as well. Very useful for my team. Let's take a peek at the agent reasoning to see a little bit more about how it got here. Now, the agent communicates all of the different things that it does in order to build out the app. So I can see here it identifying all of the different parts of the experience, the greeting carousel, the tasks overview, a lot of the theming and modern designs that it's picking, as well as it's communicating all of the different validation steps that it did as well, testing out the navigation, making sure that the layout all looks okay. And so with all of that work, our result is this app that is in front of us. Now, that's not all, though. This is just one shot, one prompt. I can go and continue to multi-turn and edit with this agent to fine-tune, add other capabilities, and so on. I don't just have to use text for that again, though. I'm in Copilot, and I'm able to go and use my voice as well to talk directly to the agent for what I want to. So let's do, make me a dark mode I can switch to. That's a pretty popular, like, if only all of us could just wish that into existence by speaking. So I'll kick that off as well. Now, while that works, I want to show you something else. This app is not just a prototype. We actually produce a backend for this app inside of SharePoint. So let's take a look. Now, SharePoint is a very familiar, everyday worker tool for structured data, especially lists. And we can see here that I have all of the lists for, or all the tasks that are a part of my onboarding app here. And I can go add new ones as well. So let's go in and add a task 4 and some compliance training. That's always important for onboarding. It's not started yet, and that looks good. So we can see here, another task added to the list for our newly onboarded new hire to go and do. Let's go check back with the agent to see where it's at. I think it's this one. Uh-oh. There we go. Almost done. I see that it has added a new icon in the top right here. Let's go check that out. There we go, a dark mode, spoken into existence. We can also see as well that compliance training task I just added, live updated in the app, fully connected to that backend that is also produced along with the app. So this is looking really great for my team, and in order to go and share it, all I have to do is press share and copy a link just like I would for any other Office document or presentation to send along to my team. So we've seen how easy it is for me, an everyday worker, to go from an idea to app, and seeing how Copilot can help us go from being AI users to AI makers. And now every process expert can build what they need together with Copilot. Cool, back to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Emma. That was awesome. So look, this is 100% a feature of Copilot, right? People can come build apps like what Emma just did and never even know that a Power Platform existed, right? It's 100% happening inside of their daily work experience with their intelligent assistant. Even not just building the apps, but storing the data inside of Microsoft 365, running the apps when they're shared, and everything fits inside of that management and security boundary. It's just a native feature of Copilot that now any intelligent experience has a user experience that goes along with it. So really starts to catch that spark. Everything that Power Platform is today started inside of Microsoft 365 with people in things like SharePoint experimenting with new capabilities that just showed up in that experience. This is a whole new generation of that with much more capability and power under the hood. Now, the nice thing is we've learned a heck of a lot in that time span about how to govern all of this and how to manage it and how to monitor it and how to keep it secure. So hold that thought for a little later. But where I want to go next is a little bit further up that sophistication spectrum, right? When we want to, not just help an individual make a better, sort of onboarding app for a team, but actually start to attack that operating system of the HR department, right? And modernize it piece by piece. And for that, we have some brand new stuff to talk about today. We launched this morning into public preview a whole new experience called vibe.powerapps.com. Right, that takes a whole lot of the goodness of what Emma just demonstrated to the next level of power and sophistication. And to show that to you, Simon, take us away.
We might have the same problem.
That's a brute force dark mode right there.
Yeah.
We're doing. Bear with us while we work on the hardware. We're software people around here, not hardware people. So.
Oh, there you go.
All right,
Oh, yes.
Let's give that a shot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody. So yes, vibe.powerapps.com. This is the new look. I've landed here this morning along a lot of folks online. What we're going to do today is start with another prompt similar to App Builder, but I'm going to go and jump in and start this process so we can talk about it. This is a new look. We have a chat on the left-hand side, and you'll notice in the top right-hand side here, I have a bunch of agents. There's the requirements agent, the data agent, and the solution agent that you may have seen in the plan designer that are coming up with user roles and requirements. We're covering data models that are going to support my entire solution to this business problem, and also a solution agent that can decide what kind of technology is going to solve this problem for us. What's super cool is we have a brand new agent, the coding agent. The coding agent is bringing a pro dev into your team that can understand a full stack React application and then help you code it. The agents themselves are working through tasks in parallel as a group of agents to go solve this problem. So as the coding agent is working through setting up pages, we can actually take a quick step back and have a look at what's happened so far. We have a business problem, for sure. I just put that in. The requirements agent has helped me put together the employee, the manager, the operations user roles that are going to be required to solve this business problem, and a whole bunch of jobs to be done. I can go ahead and edit these, but these are actually looking pretty good. These are going to cover a lot of what's going to be there in version 1 of this app. The data model itself has been proposed. We actually have 5 tables suggested to support this. It's actually a pretty significant solution. And here's the technology. We actually have the hiring manager portal. This is being built by the coding agent right now. We've also got workflows for alerting folks. We've got AI agents that are going to support our operations. And so this goes just to kind of the next step and builds out everything necessary to solve your business problem. So in this case, for example, one user, the employee, might get updates from the employee and applicant data in this solution. That said, let's jump into data, because this is pretty key. The data model itself here is 5 tables, fully connected. We have all the relationships and the pieces together. And this is being built over Dataverse. So from day one, this solution is a planet-scale, heavily governed and managed and secure platform so that you can deliver on these vibed solutions, and it's not just a POC. This is us putting some grounding in what is necessary to have a successful enterprise application. And because this is Dataverse, I can jump into these things. So maybe I look at the applicants, I can view that data. We can see there's lookups to other tables. There's row ownership, so I can control necessary RBAC on these tables. So everything you would expect from Dataverse, including all the tools and solutions you've been using over the years. It did say something went wrong on the left-hand side here, but that's OK. That happens sometimes. I have a quick backup. And if I flip over to the app tab here, this is actually finished, and you can see it finalized some details. We can actually have a look behind the scenes here. What is this app made of? It actually has a full stack app built over React. And so there's everything from design files that keep the layout and the color schemes going for your apps. We have assets for all the services to connect to data, everything from the pages that we need. So if I wanted to, I could jump into all this code and have a look at it. We can go ahead and pull that up side by side so that we can see a nice layout of this app without any extra code. This is going to manage itself. I'll go ahead and put that in full screen so we can all see. This is actually version 1. I did nothing to this app, but I have the home screen here where I can search through my software engineer. There it is. Maybe I view that. In this case, there's other applications available. I could edit that posting. I can even look at the Kanban board for all the folks that are moving through these internal job postings that we have. And I'm hoping that if I move it along, there you go, drag and drop worked right out of the box.
Pretty cool.
What's really interesting is we can actually go and do some typical low-code processes. I can just pick parts of this app in real time, ask for specific changes, or just make those manual updates, right? I don't need to wait for my agents to go build these things for me. I can be like, yeah, this needs to be bold. I love the old purple color we had. Let's put that back. I could grab little sections and go manage them individually, the same way that I could also drop into the data and manage those. Maybe if I look at the loop steps and add a new one for onboarding, and we'll just throw test in there because we're testing, and head back to the app, I've actually done 0 code updates, and these apps are pulling from the data sources to be fully successful apps. So if I jump into the Kanban, I'm guessing I have an onboarding step. Yay, let's move someone there. That said, why do I have to do all this work, all these little mini interactions? I can go ask my team of agents to go do a whole bunch of stuff while I go grab some coffee. So in this case, I'm going to update the Kanban. I'm going to let it flow better. I'm going to add in light and dark mode because we've got a great amount of feedback from Emma's team that everyone loves that. We're going to add in a tint of blue and even add more roles and requirements. Like these are serious things to go do. So the agents themselves start understanding, like, what do I need to go and do to solve that plan? We get the implementation steps, and it tells us how it's going to go attack that problem. What's super interesting is if we give that a couple minutes, you just keep moving through and polishing these apps. We have an awesome app here that I put together literally this morning. If I jump into hiring managers, I've got animated charts. I could go and look at my software engineering roles, search through those, maybe even jump into the Kanban. In this case, I have nice headers. I can search, and of course, move them around. So hopefully, we get to see some awesome apps coming from you folks. The 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗄𝗏𝗀𝗲apps.com is available today, and it's just super exciting to see what will come from this. Thanks. Back to Ryan.
Thank you, Simon. That was awesome. Oop. Switch back. So look, there is a lot of power under the hood of this coding capability, right? And yes, it's generating code. Power Apps, in fact, has always generated code. Every time you drag and drop a rectangle onto a canvas, we created HTML and JavaScript under the hood. But now so many of the classic limitations of that layer are just gone, right? And how fast can I now create really impactful, great interactive business applications with this mix of point and click and natural language first? And do that not just as 1,000 lines of JavaScript and prototypey stuff or maybe over some hokey open source database, but actually do it in the context of Power Platform, right? In the context of Dataverse, which today sits under several multi-billion-dollar business application estates, and is used by tens or hundreds of millions of people around the world every month. But to be able to have this amount of speed and creativity over that amount of power just takes this completely to the next level. But speaking about next level, we're not done yet. In fact, we have 2 more demos to pack in here in less than 20 minutes, so let's go fast. Let's go talk about what happens above this spectrum, right? We have this spectrum of individuals creating things in Copilot, maybe more advanced creation happening at 𝗦.PowerApps, but what are we actually building? What processes are we enabling on top where we think about this differently than just everything as a human at a user experience typing into a box? You notice those solution design agents weren't just helping build the HR onboarding portal, they were also recommending automation and AI agents to be built in Copilot Studio. And so what does it look like to sort of jump forward to the user experience of working with all of that together? And for that, I want to bring Matt up here onto the stage to sort of show us this all compose for the end user between using Copilot, using intelligent apps with Copilot, and to having agents do more and more of that work autonomously. This is really where we're heading with the platform, and it's why all these pieces are so critical to fit together. And we have some really big new things rolling out right now that will make an even more seamless integration possible than what we've ever had before. So if you're plugged in, Matt, why don't you take us away?
I think I'm plugged in. Hi, everybody. Woo! Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to, like Ryan said, change gears a little bit. I'm going to show you what the employee experience is like here at 𝗲𝗲. And I work in the HR department as an HR manager. And so these days, especially now with the capabilities that you're about to see, I actually do start my day a lot inside Copilot. So here I am where I can just ask, a lot of us probably use this if you take like 7 days off. Copilot is actually, which is rare, I get it, but like when you do, Copilot's pretty great at telling you, catch me up on the things I need to do. And so I do that quite a bit. I say, hey, is there anything in my inbox that I need to process? And here it says, yeah, you got some candidate referrals you should add to the system. And you can even hear my voice, I'm like, okay, this is not the fun part of my job. I open up an email like this, cool, here's a resume. I copy and paste all these fields, find the right form. It's incredibly monotonous. And so now, because Copilot, with what we're announcing, can act on the app on my behalf, all I now have to say is create this candidate, and I mention the referral email. And the new thing is I @mention, just like all those other agents. Emma showed you App Builder, you're probably familiar with Researcher. I can @mention the 𝗲𝗲 HR agent. And this agent, like all the others, you can chat with it. It was built in Copilot Studio, but what's new is it uses the Power Apps MCP server, which lets Copilot now act on apps on my behalf. So once it does this, all the mundane work, it will return me the created record so that I can kind of move on with my day. So I don't have to change the app, I don't have to find the form, I don't have to do all that copy pasting work that I used to have to do. And once more, as soon as it's done, great, it completed the record, that's fantastic. I can even hover over this and say draft a response and say this is done. And what's kind of cool is now Copilot will draft this response. I could have been even more direct and said go ahead and just send this mail, but I'm still building trust with Copilot. So I can see it draft an email for me that I can then send directly to Claudio and close the loop on this. So I spent a lot of my time in Copilot, but we're here to talk about Power Apps, and we've got some amazing new experiences for end users in Power Apps. So here's an enterprise-ready HR management app that's looking at my candidate pipeline. We've got hundreds and thousands of employees in here spanning this worldwide set of offices, and I can drill into a lot of this, but what I have now is what we call the agent feed. So inside this app are 5 agents, including our parent one, the 𝗲𝗲 HR. They'll help me do things like translate resumes, handle benefits, onboarding employees, and also with the candidate screening process. And so this feed in the middle is showing me what those agents have done. Just like you go to Facebook or LinkedIn to see what your friends or colleagues have done, this is my way of seeing what my agents have done. They also have helpful filter pills in here so I can see when they need me to act on something. So here I can see the resume translator is saying, can you review this Spanish translation of this resume? So here I've got a resume in English, but at 𝗲𝗲 here, we're worldwide, and I want to make sure that the target recipient in our Spanish office has a properly localized version of this resume. But I don't yet trust AI to just do that blindly. I want to provide that human-in-the-loop experience, and what you're seeing here is the most impressive collaboration service that we believe exists for human and agent collaboration. It is bringing that context to you. I can see the raw PDF. Here I've got a rich text editor of this resume in Spanish that I can just sanity check. And when I make any changes and hit approve, it packages up that change, sends it back to the agent so it can continue processing, and it stores into SharePoint the translated versions of those PDFs. I can also look at any completed runs just to see what these agents have been up to. And so at the end of the day, with these 2 combination of features, my job changes quite a bit. I'm now delegating things to Copilot. I'm looking at what they're doing, and they're proactively communicating to me with things they need me to do. I'm starting to become a supervisor of these agents, just like I would supervise other employees. So now that agents are doing the crappy part of my job, let me show you how powerful it is to do the fun part and the impactful part of my job. So I've been hearing complaints here at 𝗲𝗲 that our recruiting process is miserable. People start, they say, I almost went for a different job because I just didn't really like the process. So you're all seeing, for the first time, I think, Copilot, the real Copilot inside of this app. Conversation history comes along. I can @mention any of those agents, and I can ask it things like, can you generate a chart to visualize candidates in each stage on a bubble chart with the size of the bubble based on the average days in the stage? Colorize any bubble that seems unusual in red. So that's a kind of complicated ask. I'm basically making it look at our entire pipeline from application to screen to interview, finally to offer. And you can see what Copilot's doing. It is analyzing. It is writing kind of advanced SQL queries. It's clearly writing this Python, which maybe I know, maybe I'm technically inclined, maybe I don't, but I like the fact that I can see it here. And it's bringing a chart in here. This also came in. A bunch of us working on this feature are pretty excited now that you can resize this stuff so we can make it much bigger. And so look at this. This chart never existed. This SQL query never was written before. And I'm getting a really nice breakdown, a visual understanding of this data so that I can see, yeah, the interview stage is pretty unusual. Copilot actually flags it, saying that the average days here is 33, far above the pipeline's typical range. So this is pretty neat. It does a further breakdown of each stage and the average days in there. So pretty neat that it's now basically a coder and a data scientist right here at my fingertips. So even just looking at this list, it looks like Ellis Turner has been in the interview stage for 27 days. So I'm going to drill into that, and we're going to go ahead and ask, I have a hunch, like what might be going on here. How many back and forth emails did it take to schedule the interview for this candidate? Were there any hiccups in the process? And Copilot starts saying, okay, I'll search your email for this. It says I found several emails detailing the scheduling process for Ellis. There were at least 3 exchanges going back from November 14th, started at November 2nd, all the way to November 21st. Yes, there are delays caused by escalations. It summarizes these things. This is what we mean by the work IQ that was discussed this morning at the keynote. Here I've got all this rich app data in Dataverse with a rich front-end experience and all of my business data like emails, chats, files, etc., all brought to this one experience. So I will say I'm pretty intrigued, and the clock is ticking down, so I'll go a little quicker. But I want to do a little bit deeper. What I love here is I can now open this conversation in the M365 Copilot app in case I want a more expansive experience. And within a second, you'll see the conversation history roll in. This is what we mean by Copilot following you app to app. This is how we work. So now I can see, yes, there's all this data that it has, and now here's where I might want to engage researcher. And I'll ask researcher, based on this data, what you can identify from scheduling emails, can you draft a proposal for the hiring committee to optimize this process? And without us having to go through all of this, I will show you the chat that I did sitting right up front there, going through this scheduling bottleneck analysis. And this is what researcher came together. Again, you see the same sequence of things that I went through. And yeah, it says the interview stage is a bottleneck, and I think it's because of scheduling delays. You get this really nice breakdown of the data that it showed. I love this view here. It's showing the timeline of when the initial schedule was proposed, November 14th, rescheduled, coordination continued, eventually November 21st. That's obviously too long to get a candidate through your pipeline. And it writes up a set of recommendations. Perhaps we could even start building better apps to manage this stuff. So ultimately, I get a really nice report generated for me. But here at 𝗲𝗲, not everyone, I like to read stuff, but not everyone likes to read things. So I ask it at the end, can you go ahead and summarize this into a PowerPoint deck to facilitate discussion? And what you get is a nice deck here to just have the details, the simple details here so I could start having a discussion. You could see that my conversation history continued right on. And at the end of the day, now I've got Copilot following me app to app. I've got access to engage with apps on my behalf without me even being in them. And so now I spend more of my time working on the recruiting process. So I don't know about you, who wants to join me here at 𝗲𝗲? We're hiring.
Woo! Nice job, Matt. Thank you very much. So there was a lot there. We're gonna rapid fire through some of it. What makes a lot of this possible is a new MCP server for Power Apps. Think of this like Power Tools for agents. Everything the app can do, including things like intelligent form prediction, now skills of any agent you build in Copilot Studio or anywhere else. An agent feed in that app then makes it possible for an operator to monitor what those agents are doing in a place where they can actually act on it and do useful things. And then the cream of this crop is bringing the full Copilot experience into applications. And it's so much more than just a chat on the right-hand pane now. It's all of my work IQ and all of the other agents working across my company, so I can seamlessly go from Copilot to Power Apps to Researcher to PowerPoint, and all of that context and all of that productivity flows. But look, none of this works unless we can do it not just once, but over and over and over again, and trust it and secure it and operate it. And that's where the base of this whole foundation is the managed platform. We've made incredible progress here over the last couple of years and what it means to manage security, operations, governance, availability, and we're bringing all of that forward to manage the apps and agents that you create in this new era. And to show us that is Mr. Jones. Austin, come on up. So, no, I'm kidding.
Hey, thank you.
His name is Austin, not Mr. Jones. Plug on in and let's look at some of these capabilities, not just for the apps that you build in App Builder, the apps that you build in Vibe.Power Apps, the apps that you've been running for years, but also the agents, and now things that you can build in any platform and any tool. Take it away, Austin.
So I want to know, does the vibe stop here, or do we vibe 10x? Woo! Here,
Do it.
as much as we talk about the creators and we talk about the makers, we also love IT. It's not lost on us, the enterprises, IT is a pillar. And the Power Platform Admin Center, that is the vehicle for the operations teams, the Center of Excellence teams, the admins. And in the Admin Center, this is where Oh my goodness. You can manage where all makers create, you can manage their environments. You can group those environments in environment groups and apply rules and set policies. So you can do things like, oh, business unit A, innovators and creators will be isolated or given a dedicated place separate from business unit B, sales and HR, wherever there are rivalries. And then on top of that, you can set policies on those groups or on those environments and on those resources, like data loss prevention policies to prevent data exfiltration risks. Now, what I'm excited to do today is do a carousel tour of some of the latest and greatest for the managed platform. And so one thing you see here is our advisor agent. Everyone wants to know, are we adopting best practices? Are we doing things the right way? And everyone hates the answer. Maybe. It depends. It's unique for every customer. But what's wonderful with the advisor agent is that it's unique to you. It's looking at your use or your organization's use of Power Platform and trying to collate and suss out, hey, maybe you should consider this. And you know, here at 𝗲𝗲, we got kind of wild. We vibed 10x, as we had asked earlier, and we created all these apps that, well, some of which aren't used. And you know, if you want to use that power, you can. You can take the inline action of trying to clean up and then delete some of those unused things. But we're IT. We know we shouldn't just flippantly delete things. We could instead just use some of this context to decide who to follow up with. We can reach out to those creators. Now, in those carousel of features, who here has ever asked, can I have better data on usage? You don't have to show me your hand, I can't see it, but I would love to know. Tell me afterwards. Never seen before is the new usage experience, where how much do you use Power Apps all up? You want to know? We'll tell you. You want to know how much you use Power Automate all up? Again, we'll tell you. And again, for Copilot Studio. But how do we just take that in aggregate? What does that mean? No, it's more about understanding how individual resources and individual solutions are driving that usage. And you can look at what are the most popular apps, the most popular flows, the most popular agents, to then see what's driving digital transformation in your organization. You can find the makers to see who your change makers are, and then celebrate them. But look, if I were to show you, look, these are all the most popular apps, it's not a vanity contest. And if anything, this list is incomplete, which is why I'm ecstatic to show you inventory. A lot of people have always wanted to know, where can I get the bird's eye view on everything? And they felt that it was hard. I promise you it's not hard anymore. If anything, I like to call this the haystack. And why would I call it a haystack? Well, because we can find a needle. Earlier we saw Emma on stage building apps in App Builder. And it doesn't matter what she built and where she built it, as long as it's in Power Platform, here it is. Now, I'm going to take away, as much as I love Emma, I love everything that's built in Power Platform. And we can scan around. You know, we can sort on modified by, we can use the haystack to see trends, what's being edited, who's making those changes. And you can see anomalies. In the past, we always talked about low-code applications, and what are we looking at? Ryan, this is Code App. Well, for those who are paying attention, in May, we'd announced a preview where developers could get the best of Power Apps in the IDE they prefer. And so I'm switching from the Admin Center, I'm going straight to Visual Studio Code. Yeah, this isn't PowerApps.com, but this is a Power App. This is a React app that happens to be using the Power Apps SDK, and then what does it get with that? Well, it gets Entra Auth out of the box with 0 lines of code. It gets access to 1,400 connectors in our platform. It gets, the list keeps going and going. But it respects all of those governance boundaries. And then this is just a highlight. It's not so much where you start, it's where you end up. And so I'm going to take this app. I pre-built everything. I did the cooking show. But I'm just going to show, hey, with one command, when you're ready, we can go look at that app. Ooh, running in our platform. We're running short on time, so I'm going to highlight, look at that consent dialog. It's beautiful and knows who I am, and I didn't write any line of code. Now, getting things out into the ether is one thing, but none of us want production to be the ether, which is why I'm going to go back to the Admin Center one more time and highlight the latest and greatest with Monitor. This is a capability that's only gotten richer and deeper and better with time. We give you health metrics out of the box. And on top of those health metrics, well, if you want to know, does an app or an agent or a flow fall over in production, Monitor will tell you. Look, if you don't like our out-of-box alerts, we know one size doesn't fit all. Please set up your own alerts against your custom thresholds. I'm out of time. Ryan, thank you. Thank you.
All right, big round of applause for Austin. Big round of applause for all of the demoers today. There's an ominously counting down clock here, so we're going to cut it here. But a lot of the folks that worked on all this stuff, including everybody who demoed, is actually building it every day. So if you want to hang out afterwards, come ask us questions. This all together, right? This is how we're going to go upgrade every operating system in every organization on the planet. We cannot wait.